Good morning and good day. I am Coach Jay. That rhymes, but I'm bummed. So stay tuned for a corny dad joke. Today's is this. I saw a man standing on one leg at an ATM. Confused, I asked him what he was doing. He said, just checking my balance. But I'm bummed. All right, let's take two deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth. One more time. All right. Today, I'm going to be talking about emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence is the ability to manage both you and your own emotions and understand the emotions of those around you. I'd like to share a quote first by Henry Ford. Life is a series of experiences. Each one makes us bigger, even though it is hard to realize this in the moment. For the world was built to develop character, and we must learn that setbacks and griefs, which we endure, help us out marching onward. I always say sometimes life's greatest gifts are packaged in the most ugliest gift boxes. It's not until sometimes months or years after we go through something, we look back and say, wow, I'm glad I experienced that, or I'm glad this opened my eyes, because now, I'm going to make different decisions. While you're going through the storm, it doesn't feel good at all. What does emotional intelligence look like? Emotional intelligence is the ability to find your way through sometimes muddy emotions. Possessing emotional intelligence enables you to harness your emotions to have positive results when dealing with others and yourself. All people always need to change their self-awareness to compensate for what they encounter in their lives regularly. One way to accomplish this is to raise your emotional intelligence. However, there can be a barrier or some barriers to raising your intelligence. Barriers to raising emotional intelligence are lacking emotional awareness and control. By understanding your inner emotions, you communicate better and respond well to different situations and people. I tell people all the time, because I officiate weddings, and usually the weddings I officiate are of younger couples, very young couples in their early 20s. And I say all the time, oftentimes two people are exchanging I do's and they have no clue who the I am is. So the more you get to know who you are and your emotions and what sets you off and your triggers, the better gift you can give to somebody else. And if you're not going to give it to somebody else, let's just say you're not going to get married, or you've already been married or whatever, then it's the gift you give to yourself and the world around you. Working on your awareness of your emotions can be a painful thing to do, but if you want to be more self-aware, it's vital for you to do so. Emotions are neither good or bad. They simply are, and they cannot harm you unless you ignore or suppress them. Suppressed or ignored emotions, just like trauma, will come out in other areas of your life. If you ignore them, they will find a way to be expressed. I just said that. And it may not be in the most appropriate place or time. Suppressing emotions make them less controllable, so it's better to express them safely and respectfully. The most significant barrier to emotional intelligence is having a mental block that influences how you perceive the actions of others. An emotional barrier triggers an emotional response that's inappropriate to the situation. I always say people say one thing, but other people hear, a different thing. And also, we don't read a lot of times what's said. We read who we are. So, we will read something that could be casual, but we read it as we're taking it personal or defensively. So really, the more we work on our inner self, the better we're going to be just as a whole in the world. Emotional intelligence will empower you to live a more balanced and empowered life. Here are some ways to tell if you are emotionally intelligent. You welcome change. Change is hard for all of us, but it might be exceptionally difficult if you are a survivor or living with some type of constant stress, CPTSD, which is complex stress disorder, PTSD, betrayal. Emotionally intelligent people know deep down that change is inevitable. It's a part of our life, and they understand that their first reaction to change may be to resist it. But emotionally intelligent people don't fear change because they have a sense of self that does not wiggle out of the groove. Staying constant in any circumstance they know is most effective. So number one would be if you actively pursue opportunities to grow, you are emotionally intelligent. And if you're watching this and listening to me, this is an opportunity to grow. So that's a good indication that in this area, you're emotionally intelligent. Two, you show empathy to other people. When you're connected to your emotions, you can relate to those of others. Emotionally intelligent people read others and observe social and emotional cues. People with emotional intelligence can see past what is said to know what something might be experiencing or what someone might be experiencing. You ever listen to somebody and your gut is saying something, whatever they're saying is off. I don't even know if they believe what they're saying, let alone they want me to believe it. That's a sign of emotional intelligence. If you can picture someone else's emotions walking in their shoes for a while, you are emotionally intelligent. Number three, you understand yourself at a deep level. Emotionally intelligent people recognize their strengths and weaknesses and are in tune with their emotions. You can identify triggering situations and take preventative measures to avoid or overcome them. So basically, if you can see yourself through the lens of reality, you are emotionally intelligent. What is reality? That's difficult because, sometimes we look through life with rose-colored glasses, especially if we're an HSP, a highly sensitive person, or somebody that's traumatized. Any of those things could really blur reality. All right, number four, allow yourself not to be perfect. Here's a little fact that's critical for you to understand. You will never be perfect. So stop striving for it. Instead, accept yourself for who you are and continue to grow instead of seeing yourself as an imperfect and unfinished person. Now, don't get me wrong. I believe we're perfectly created, but we live in an imperfect world. And that's just the world we grew up in. So we're going to be imperfect. Knowing you can continue down the road less taken to emotional health, but not to expect to reach the unattainable goal of perfection is vital. I say all the time, much more than human beings, we are human evolvements. We are growing, learning, evolving all the time. So if you embrace your flaws and imperfections, you are emotionally intelligent. Notice how I didn't say if you love them or in love with all your flaws, just if you embrace them. You acknowledge them, you know them, you embrace them. Number five, you live a balanced life. So emotionally intelligent people seek balance in their lives. They understand that focusing only on one aspect of their lives leads to neglect in other parts of who they are. You're not just a victim or a person living with mental health challenge. You are a vital part of the humanity and need to end focusing only on recovery. So go out and enjoy your life despite therapy, despite your trauma, despite your past, despite the current anxiety and stress in your life. So, in other words, you are emotionally intelligent if you can visualize not being a forever victim, but seeing yourself as an overcomer. And number six, lastly, is ways to confirm you have emotional intelligence is just simply to be grateful for what you possess. If you are emotionally intelligent, you don't obsess over thinking of what you don't have. Emotional intelligence means you are grateful and you take time to appreciate the good things that you have in your life. Emotional intelligence also means that you're not focusing on the next big thing in life. You're just very fortunate. You consider yourself fortunate for where you are and what you currently have. This keeps you grounded as well. So, in other words, emotional intelligence is living a life of gratitude and being thankful for the things that you have in life. Even if I'm telling you something, I met somebody one time that lost their sense of smell. And I always thought after that, wow, like when I take something out of the oven and I smell it and it smells like that person can't experience that. So be grateful for your nose, even if it's big like mine. All right. Some steps that are available that you can take to increase your emotional IQ and to change the way that you think and behave. So basically, raising your awareness is crucial to changing your life. It would be best if you always tried to acknowledge how you feel so you can understand how emotions and actions affect the people around you. I apologize. To do so, you can keep a journal and slow down to examine why you feel the way you do. Increasing your self-regulation is critical to knowing your values and where you will not compromise. Hold yourself accountable and stop blaming others for how you feel. Commit to admitting your mistakes and facing the consequences when they come. Practice remaining calm the next time you are in a challenging situation. I always like to use the analogy of, you know how like in the ocean, you see the top of the water, there's tons of waves and there's crashes and there's tempests and there's, all these, the top of the water is going crazy sometimes. But if you just go a few feet under the water, man, it is calm, cool, collected, consistent. And that's the way we should really aim to be, is that, we got stressors with trauma and betrayal and bills and expectations and children and all this stress and anxiety. But within us should be that consistent calm. That's what we should really strive for. Learn to recognize and celebrate your emotional intelligence, not gloating about acknowledging how far you have come, and that you have stopped struggling and begin to enjoy all the things in life instead. So you're basically just focusing more on your blessings rather than your burdens. Make sure you expose yourself to a diverse range of other people's perspectives. You will encounter many different opinions, so exposing yourself to them and acknowledging that everyone has different ones will open up your mind to the world beyond your own. Leave your comfort zone and overcome your fear of change by experimenting with many new activities. Practice following your curiosity and choose not to allow your fear to get in your way. I always say, especially after like trauma or betrayal, we oftentimes make a lot of our life decisions from a place of fear, when really, if we can tap into making decisions from a place of empowerment, that would serve us, especially because after we've been betrayed or after life has betrayed us, a lot of times our choice were stolen. Our decision to make choices and decisions were stolen. So we need to make sure we're making decisions by empowerment. We have to empower ourselves, give us back what was stolen, which was, the freedom to make choices and decisions. So there is a disadvantage of emotional intelligence. Once you become more, once you increase your emotional intelligence, you do become more of the suffering of people around you, and that can be a burden on us. What I mean by that is, because you empathize more with people, you find yourself more emotionally walking in their shoes. And that could be painful, especially if you are an HSP, a highly sensitive person, something like that. Also, since emotional intelligence involves self-discovery, that on its own might be painful, because it's forcing you to, take a good look in the mirror and see your own flaws. And sometimes that discovery is not a good discovery. The advantage of knowing who you are and what you stand for can be painful, especially when you're taking a hard look at yourself. So those are two ways where emotional intelligence may not serve you or may not feel good. And then the last one is accepting change as inevitable takes guts and work. I mean, a lot of people don't like change, especially if you've had a childhood full of chaos. You don't like change because all you've ever known is change. You like consistency. You might not want to change or accept that change is happening in your life. Accepting change can also be painful, like I said, especially if your childhood was full of chaos. However, if you embrace that change, or you get excited for the new level that you're going to go to because of that change, the rewards are definitely worth it. So although emotional intelligence does have a few disadvantages, the pros certainly far outweigh the cons. Becoming emotionally intelligent is one of the best things you can do on your own healing journey. You must gain control over yourself and your emotions so that you can move forward and make a better life for yourself. Accepting change for what it is. You could even probably work on radical acceptance. This is something I was telling my son the other day. Once there's information in front of you, listen, I understand. You can cry and beg God to turn back time and tell the universe, I'll give my right arm if I could just go back to 2 weeks ago or 2 months ago or 2 years ago. Nothing's going to change the past, unfortunately. Nothing's going to change the past. You got to radically accept what happened. That's the only way to use that as a stepping stone to move forward. Accepting change for what it is a part of life, and it will always be here. Change, the one sure thing about life is change. There will always be change, and oftentimes that change can be profoundly hurtful, profoundly devastating. But emotional intelligence, working on your emotional intelligence, will help you when this change does come into your life. It will help you transition and heal better and quicker.